Hello and welcome to Eco Girl in a Modern World. My name is Shelly and my channel is dedicated to talking about ways to be more environmentally friendly in a modern context. I'm going to keep today's video very brief. In the last video, I did kind of lament about a lot of the events going on in the world, especially in the United States, and I've still definitely been in that mindset. And not to be funny, it's like I needed a little bit of a reprieve from watching the news, and I posted this really funny meme on my social media that said, I'm going to take a break from watching the news and I'm going to start watching, true crime documentaries to clear my head. and the funny thing is, I did start watching true crime documentaries to kind of just have a different perspective. And it wasn't to be morbid, but it was one thing that I kind of took away from just kind of changing gears and watching something different on television was that I got to see in every single case how much investigation went into it, but also the fact that the technology really changed over the course of years. And it seemed like over the course of about 20 to 30 years, the advent of a lot of DNA and other type of techniques of crime solving was implemented, and it really brought about a world of change. And so how that applies to environment is I got to thinking about how in the news we keep focusing on drilling or using petroleum or using gas or fossil fuels or liquid gas and other energy sources. So I decided to make today's video about some of the alternative green energy sources that are up and coming. And again, I kind of thought about this from watching TV, like, wow, 30 years ago we didn't have this type of technology and now we do. So I kind of am thinking it from a perspective of maybe 15, 20 years from now, where will some of these technologies be? And it gave me a lot of hope, and it's actually a lot to get excited about. Now, if you follow my social media channels, Instagram, it doesn't let me link too many videos there. And I'd love to post YouTube videos just because they're very informative. But I'm just going to talk about 3 kind of alternative energy sources that are really up and coming. And they're really something to be hopeful and excited, to something to look forward to. Now, the first thing is I actually I went to a seminar in my county, in my state, that talked about our goals in where I live about being completely, green, being completely off gas-powered kind of fossil fuels by the year 2030. And as of right now, it looks like we are not going to meet that goal. We are trying really hard to meet that goal, but we did make a lot of progress with solar panels and other initiatives. And one of the initiatives that we talked about is electrifying everything, making everything electric instead of gas-powered and instead of petroleum-powered. And you've probably seen in a lot of my other videos, we talk about, sometimes there's a lot of dangers in having, gas-powered kind of energy sources, especially for homes. Natural gas is a good resource, but it can have its pitfalls. It can be bad for air quality. It can also cause dangers with possible, ignition of damage to your house if you have an accident with natural gas. And some things like, methane and other natural sources, the more that we mine or try to get these kind of, fuel-based petroleum sources, it's not an infinite, it's a finite resource. We have enough to last us a while, but we don't want to continue using it. And honestly, it's not very good for air quality and anything else in your home. So one of the big initiatives in my county and my state was to move away from fossil fuels and be more of electric, to lean more on energy that is electric. Now, the disadvantage disadvantage of electric is that, of course, and I'll be talking about this in future videos more, is we don't want to lean on power plants. Power plants can be very toxic as well. There's a lot of, nuclear waste. I actually saw a story that was really sad. There's toxic waste that's being dumped in, on reservations in New Mexico for Native American people, and there are people getting very, very sick from this. So we don't want to continue to kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. We don't want to get away from natural gas and oil, petroleum, just to go to lean on, to lean on power plants, and uranium, which is something we don't have a whole lot of, and it causes its own kind of waste. So here's three of a couple, hopeful alternatives that could be more up and coming. Now, of course, the biggest one that we've seen is solar. Solar is great. The only disadvantage is that you have to put up these big panels either on your house, or you might see solar panels out in cornfields. We're utilizing rural farmland to put up solar panels. But a few really great alternatives to just the solar panels on your house is that there has been a breakthrough with turning solar into glass. You can, it's completely regular glass, so the type of glass that you use for windows, the kind of glass that you use in automobiles, which is great if we start moving towards, if you watch my fuel cell video, I talked about hydrogen cars, which are kind of a future of, instead of just being all battery powered, hydrogen is, the byproduct of hydrogen when it's broken is pure water. There's no carbon with hydrogen vehicles. But the only thing is with hydrogen powered vehicles, you do still have to have a battery. And if we have solar panel glass, that is amazing. That's a fantastic technology, because we can not only, replace windows with that, and imagine that you don't even have to have any clunky, solar panels on the top of your house. All of that solar energy can come through your windows. So imagine the impact of that for office buildings, or, home use, or to charge your car battery through the windows on your automobile. It's very far reaching, and there's actually several companies and I'll put the names up on the screen and I'll list a few of it down below, but this is really exciting. Now, the technology is still in its infancy, but I see that really going a long way for both, home energy needs, office energy needs, and that would go a long way for us, moving towards that goal of a carbon-free future by, maybe 2050. Now, so that's the first technology, solar panel glass. That's just mind-boggling, and I'm really excited to see that kind of technology be invented. The other benefit of that is that we can really see how much energy can be gleaned. How much can really be pulled. I know I've watched a few videos of folks who have switched to solar panels, and they kind of compare their energy costs. Now, I have seen it where it doesn't 100% offset their energy use, but if everybody uses it, then what it can be is that, buildings that are not, that don't use as much power could actually have the ability to give back, if you have a surplus of energy, and especially in places that get a lot of daylight all the time, that could really contribute to an infrastructure, like a total grid, where there can be offsets, or there might be situations where you create enough energy where you could actually give the energy back and be reimbursed for it. So how brilliant would that be? The power that your house is collecting, the energy your house is collecting, that you could actually get paid back, paid by the electric company for the surplus that you create. So the technology really pays for itself, and that's something that's very positive to see on the horizon. Another thing is that we talk a lot about landfills, and we use so much for plastic. A lot of the petroleum that we use are for single-use plastics. I've personally seen some great. Just this week, I saw two great changes. Starbucks started using compostable cups, so instead of those plastic lids, it's an actual plant-based cup that composts. It biodegrades. I have not looked at too many of the facts of how long it takes to biodegrade, but that is something that I'm planning to look into on another video. But I was excited to see that. But in addition to cutting down on us creating those plastics, the other side of that is, how do we avoid the plastic from going into landfills? And there is, this is something that it's amazing. I don't hear many people talk about this, but there is a process called pyrolysis, and I hope I'm saying this right. But pyrolysis is a way to break down plastic and turn it back into fuel. Because when you think about it, plastic is like PET and PETE. That is petroleum based. It is, we pull gas, we pull oil to create plastic. So ideally, a wonderful solution would be, okay, can we break down plastics instead of just throwing them away like single-use disposable things? How do we turn that plastic back into fuel? And there is a process to do that. This actually, I believe this started in Japan. I believe that was the first country to create this process, but there are quite a few. I was happy to do the research and see that there are quite a few other companies here in the United States that have this system, and it's called pyrolysis, and it is the process of taking a plastic and breaking it back down and turning it back into fuel. And imagine that, guys, instead of having all these overfull landfills full of garbage that we create with single-use plastics, just turning the plastic back into what it was originally, which is fuel. But a couple of the companies that are up and running and doing this, Plastic to Oil is a big one. They're based in Texas. New Hope Energy is actually a United States-based one, and if I understand correctly, that company actually, instead of taking the concept that was created by other countries, they actually created their own technology to, so it is their own patent on the machines that do this recycling process, breaking down plastics, single-use plastics back into fuel. So that it was actually like a science experiment that the founder did, and it worked, and they're in the process of streamlining it. So that's an up and coming one to really look for. Also, Mission Solar Energy, that's more of a solar panel one, but from my understanding, they do also look at plastics recycling. And so these are all really exciting concepts. If we can cut down on our waste, stop using the single-use plastics, and what we do have in creation, if we can turn that back into fuel. In addition, I just wanted to share, I had gone out to lunch and I had gotten a utensil that is also bioplastics. So, my knife from my food today, and a lot of the places that I go, they serve everything in compostable containers. That's the other thing, is that I don't like going to any place that gives you those plastic containers. If it's those cardboard containers, maybe with plant-based plastic lining. One other technology that's coming on the forefront is there is a company that's looking to create plastic wrap from using using algae, which is great because we've had with the hotter climate, with the climate change we're experiencing, we have been seeing a lot of algal blooms, which is, although not to be weird, the green stuff that you see on top of oceans. And NASA, I'm actually in May, I'm going to be visiting NASA to go to a trip there that I take annually with my environmental group. And they've actually been gauging algal blooms from space. There's a great project that I'm really hoping will be funded this year. It was supposed to be, but we'll see. But they gauge that because it's not only important on an environmental scale, because algae blooms can contribute to it can contribute to the heating of oceans or the cooling of oceans, because if algae becomes so thick on the surface of water, if it blocks the suns of the rays, it can starve certain ocean life, and it contributes to a bad cycle with coral reefs and other things. So it's just kind of a natural balance of the ocean, and it's a good thing that if we have an overabundance of algae, if we're able to kind of skim that and turn that into something else, and there's a company that's looking to turn that into bioplastics. So, this would, if it helps us balance out, the kind of imbalance that, too much carbon in the atmosphere is creating, that's always a good thing. And that's a way for us to get off plastics and get onto a viable alternative that would let us, kind of comb through and maybe recycle some of what we've already got produced. And then the last energy source that I wanted to talk about was generating power from windmills. And I know windmills have gotten like a totally bad rap. It's like they get the reputation of being big and loud, and that reputation is unwarranted. What you see is, yes, the big windmills are loud and they are bigger, but windmill technology has really come a long way, where they have gotten so compact that you can actually buy them at your local stores. Like, it's available from Walmart, it's available from Home Depot, you can get it off Amazon. A few of the really high-tech ones and I'll post a video down below that really talks about this, that it's really amazing. It almost looks like one of those wind catchers that those decorations you put on your front porch. But what it does is they're very small. They're the more compact ones you can put on the top of your house, or you can put in more, if you have any channels between buildings, you can kind of put it up higher, and it's not that expensive. Most of them can be, some of them can be as inexpensive as $35. The more quality ones would be anywhere from $60 to $180. But the amount of wind power, the amount of energy that it generates is really amazing. And that is another technology that I think is really on the forefront, and I think is really going places, and is really going to be able for us to move from petroleum-based sources of fuel to providing electricity for homes. So this is the three that I've been kind of looking at, and I'm going to, again, I have a few trips coming up, and I promise you we'll have some interviews. I'm actually going to be talking with some, I have an interview coming up with the head person from a recycling plant, so we're going to get to talk about like what really happens when you put, plastics in your bin. But I also want to talk about as we move forward, as we move into housing and other things, how can you really become, carbon neutral, in line with our goals, without us having to lean on nuclear or, alternative fuels to make up the difference from these energy sources. But these three are really what's giving me hope right now. And again, we're seeing a lot of us kind of reverting back to what we've always done, in the news. We're like, okay, it really feels like we're going to be, reliant on oil for a long time. And I know for decades we keep saying, okay, we're going to get off oil, we're going to get off our oil. But this video is just to talk about there is hope to be had. It is not all gloom and doom. There's some really great technologies that are on the forefront, and I really do see that us advancing in that way. So this is exciting. This is something to give us a little glimmer of hope while things feel very turbulent. But I hope this gave everyone a little bit of optimism. I know it gave me some optimism. And again, I'm definitely going to be researching this and probably be doing separate videos that talk about each of these technologies and how they actually work. And most importantly, the actual output, what's the actual proof of the energy they provide. But I just wanted to check in and let you know that's what's been kind of on my mind. I hope everyone is doing well. I know it's been a challenging first start of the year. But if you're new to the channel, if you like what you see here, I'd be very honored if you'd like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions for what you would like to see on the channel, please leave it as a comment or send it to the email listed below. And I thank you so much for checking out the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.